Need some fast, cheap, reliable MUT coins? Go to MMOXP.com and use discount code MONEYSHOT for 5% off your order. Link in the description below. Welcome back, YouTubers and Madden fans. This is Madden Money Shot, sniffing out the Madden cheese as always. Got some plays for you today out of the Saints playbook. This is going to be part 2 of my Pistol Bunch TE. If you guys didn't see part 1, I'll try to put a link in the description. I fully recommend watching it. My favorite play on this entire formation I put out in yesterday's video, the verticals play, is probably one of the most explosive passing plays in the game, in my opinion. So check that out. I'll put a link in the description for that. Other than that, I've been in the Saints playbook for like a week now, based off of you guys hitting the like button and let me know in the comment section how much you guys want to see more and more plays. So I can continue to do that. All you guys got to do is let me know. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys are getting tired of it, if you guys, I mean, I know a lot of people use the Saints, but if you're getting tired of it, obviously I can move on to a new book. I got some good ideas, West Coast, Cardinals, stuff like that. You know, let me know in the comment section what videos, what playbooks you want me to do. I'm always up for suggestions. Other than that, I also have a huge playlist for the Saints. I'll try to put a link in the description for people that want to go check that out. I have a playlist for every single team in the game, so you know you can always go to your favorite playlist and try to find some firepower for your favorite offense. But let's go and let's get into the video. Part 2, I'm going to focus on some of the run plays, but I'm also going to try to focus on some more pass plays towards the end, because a lot of the run plays in this, if you've been playing Madden for a while, you probably know these run plays, you probably know these tricks. So I'll end this video, like I said, on some pass plays. Other than that, like I said, the most popular one is probably the halfback zone. I feel like this play has kind of, I don't want to say it was patched down, but it feels like it's not as successful as it was. I'll show you what I'm talking about. You have to definitely make an adjustment. I feel like now all you ever really did was flip it with the right stick. But I feel like if you do the normal stock way, you just don't get the success that you used to get. I don't feel like if you do this with the 3 wide receiver set like I'm showing you right now, you just don't get the blocking. Like, I feel like you have to make an adjustment, and that adjustment, like I said, a lot of you guys probably already know it. It's an old school trick. All you're going to do is you're going to go to the formation and you're going to basically sub in 3 tight ends. I used to run this formation without subbing 3 tight ends, and it was still really, really good. But now I really feel like you have to do that if you want to have success with these run plays, because the blocking is way different. It holds up way better. So if you don't even, I mean, some people play regs, you don't even have 4 tight ends in certain playbooks. You might even have to go as far as substituting out your tight end, your starting tight end. Like, I might have to put in, you know, like a right tackle or a fullback, and then get him over here. So, but just make sure you have your best blocking tight ends over here. That's the bottom line. I can't say that I looked into it too much that I know which one of these are my best blocking tight ends. But we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to go. I don't think Josh Hill is much of a block tight end. I really don't know. So, like I said, it doesn't really matter. Just put your 3 best blocking tight ends on this side. Your opponent, a lot of times, like, you would think that would give away what you're going to do, but a lot of times your opponent's not going to know. So don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. So like I said, I'm going to go ahead and pick the halfback zone once again. Before I start the video, I just want to let you guys know, if you go to MMOXP.com right now, you can get your MUT coins ordered and delivered within the next 10 minutes. They're fully loaded on PS4 and Xbox, and they also offer the cheapest coins on the market. So check that out. Link in the description below. Other than that, let's get into the video. So like I said, I mean, typically the way you would run this the most is flip it back towards the now 3 tight ends. Like I said, your opponent probably won't notice. You know what I mean? Like, they have wide receiver numbers. I don't really think that people pay attention to personnel that much that they're going to realize that, hey, that's 3 tight ends, and that's going to, you know, they might play an entire game and never notice that. So if it's a zone coverage and the formation gives it away because I got a cornerback on the right side where there's no receiver, I know it's a zone, I'm going to flip it back. If it's not a zone coverage, if it's a man coverage, just going to run it as is to the open side of the field. But like I said, we have a zone. So you can see how the blocking sets up that much better now. On the very first play, we're breaking off like a 30-yard plus run because of the tight ends. So like I said, in the past, this was viewed as kind of cheesy, and I never really did it, and I had success. A lot of running plays in this game, you can find a lot of success running behind receivers. For whatever reason, receivers block a lot better than they probably should. But in this formation, I don't know, like, I feel like they might have patched it down. Like, they patch a lot of stuff. This is a very well-known series of run plays that they've been patching going back years, probably like the Madden 12. So you have to do this now. You have to use the tight ends for it to be successful. And you can see, I mean, it just really, like right there, that's probably the first time he got off that block from the first 2 plays. You can see he got off the block there. But typically you're not going to see that. So here we have the man coverage like I was telling you. So we're just going to go ahead. We're going to go the opposite way. It's not necessary. I mean, you can still run it behind the tight ends, but you can see it's just the path of least resistance. you're going to, if you do it that way, like I just showed you, you're going to have an advantage. You're going to have an advantage because there's no cornerback to hold down the edge. So here, like I said, once again, we're going to go the opposite way. Look how the block's set up. You know what I mean? Like, it's so different. Like, when I was doing with the receivers, they're getting pushed back. It felt like they were getting pushed back and stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Where now that I have the tight ends in the game, you can see how they're getting down the field and pushing the defensive players. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big difference. Like, when I was running it the first time, it felt like all three receivers were getting stopped, like right here. And they were holding up the blocks. And if they held up long enough, I could get outside. But now you're seeing we're getting some push. You know what I'm saying? Like, these tight ends are getting down the field. And they're getting pushed on these defensive players, which is a huge difference to help me break a very consistent line of runs. So like I said, I'll run it a few times just to show consistency, but I think you already get the point. Ultimately, like I said, zone coverage, I'm flipping it. Man coverage, I'm keeping it the way that it was. Like I said, look how they're getting downfield. Like they're Jared Cook, you know what I'm saying? He's all the way down the safety. If I have a little bit of a faster guy, I might be able to get it past the whole defense and go. So here we go, man coverage. Like I said, not necessarily the best way to go all the time. Like I said, it's definitely more effective behind the tight ends, but it's still a good read to make. If you don't have a cornerback out there, you can try to do it. The next run play I'm going to show you is probably going to be better against man coverage than this particular run, because this particular run doesn't really angle outside too well. It shoots, it's trying to angle you right behind the right guard and the right tackle, right in between those two. It doesn't necessarily angle you wide enough to get outside of the fullback, or who might choose acting as my tight end right now. So it's not necessarily a best run to run the opposite way against man. Like I said, the next run will probably do a better job, and I'll explain that in a minute. But ultimately, this is how I want to run it anyway. So right here, that was my fault. I really just ran too close to the blocking. But that should have been a bigger run. The blocking was definitely setting up. I just derailed it. So here we go once again. Looks like we have a man coverage. I'm going to make the read. I'm going to take it the opposite way because, like I said, there's no cornerback out here. You know, it's going to be. You want to do that for a couple reasons. Number one, you want to keep your opponent on their toes. You know what I mean? Like you don't. It's a good idea to do this just to let them know that you're threatening to all areas. If you keep running it to the behind the tight ends all the time, he's going to know. Plays like that, I consider it like a constraint play, which is basically just to let your opponent know that I can go either way with this. Just because you're seeing the formation doesn't mean that I'm going to run it behind the tight ends, even though that's where it's most successful. So your best opportunity will be against man. Like right here, this is a zone coverage. If I do it here, I mean, I have nothing. I mean, obviously, I'm going to try to take that inside way short because there's just no way to bounce that outside. So take the opportunity when you see the man coverages like this and just get it outside. Like I said, it's not going to be as big a play, but it lets your opponent know that they got to protect the whole field. So to me, that's probably the most consistent run. The strong power is another one that years back was way overpowered. I remember having issues stopping that in like Madden 12, 13, something like that. Still a really good play. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my audibles, and then I'm also going to put the halfback count in my audibles. I'm also going to put the PA wide receiver screen, so we can continue along with, you know, without having to come back here all the time. And I'll show you what scenarios you would want to use these plays. So I find that, you know, stretch plays are better than toss plays this year. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like ultimately pulling lineman plays don't work as well, at least not for me. I don't know, maybe everybody's different, but pulling lineman plays don't necessarily work as well when it comes to running against zone. But I do feel like they work pretty good against man. So I'll keep running this until I get a man coverage. And like I said, there is definitely explosive possibilities, but it's a little bit less consistent is all I'm trying to say. So like I said, we'll get a man coverage at some point. Here I can run it just like this. I mean, this was not a man coverage from what I'm thinking. I mean, it looked like it might have been. You can see right there, the guy was in tight, so I took it to the opposite way. Like I said, right here, this looks like a cover 2. I wouldn't necessarily suggest this. But you can see, I mean, I'm still getting a pretty consistent run, just as long as they're in tight like that. So here's another scenario where I could definitely run it. I could also motion a guy across, do a little motion snap, and you can see how that'll also help with this particular run play. You know what I mean? Like that's something that I would say. I've tried to do this entire formation without motions. This particular play, I would say, if you're running it against zone, a motion block would be an advantage. But like I said, right here, now we have a man coverage. You can see the blocking. If the blocking sets up, if you use the blocking right. So if it's man, run to the open side. If it's zone, run to the short side. Now, if I have a gap, if I have spacing like I do here, this is obviously a scenario where the counter would come into play, because you can see how that right defensive end is outside of my left tackle. And that's going to basically make this play succeed because he's out far enough that I could get inside of him, and that's really going to make the most sense when it comes to running the counter play. So anytime you see that spacing, you can go with this counterplay. Like right here, this is not a good time for the counterplay. That defensive end is too far inside where he's going to disrupt this play. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. I can't get inside as much as I want. You can see, I mean, I had a lane for a couple yards, but it's not going to be explosive. I love counterplays, but as far as counterplays go, this is not necessarily the best formation to run it in, but it's still a really successful play. You can see there's still lanes for big runs to mix in from time to time, but the first two plays are probably the most consistent. So I'm going to end this video with some passing plays. Probably the most well-known play in this formation is probably the cross drag. I don't feel like, once again, I don't feel like the cross drag works very good. I feel like they patched that to an extent. I'll show you what I'm talking about. This play used to be really good against man coverage, zone coverage. It was a really hard to stop play. I don't think, I mean, for one thing, man coverage really stops it a lot better now. It's still pretty good against zone coverage. I feel like the spacing's not as good as it was. Like for one, I mean, if I could, I'd motion out Ginn, because like, I just feel like his route and the Y route run too close together, which is not what you want. You want spacing. So like I said right here, I mean, he comes across late. The user will probably be cleared out by one of the crossing routes. So I would say if I were to make this play work still, I would want to get some spacing between Ginn and the crossing receiver, just because, I mean, speed plays this part too, but you can see they're still running together, which is totally ruining the routes. So to me, this play, I mean, you don't see it online as much. It's not as good anymore, but I just wanted to at least mention it because, like I said, this formation, to me, I don't want to say it's heavily patched, but it's definitely not as good as it was. You know, so like I said, it probably was the case. So like I said, this is still a pretty good crossing route. Obviously, there I streaked the tight end because to me, I find this is probably the best way to do it now, to pull back against zone coverages like this, because the crossing tight end, I mean, it's still a good idea to run as is, but like I said, you streak him, you wait for these receivers to cross the field, and now the safeties are pulled back a lot more, so it'll help you get these receivers open. So just a small adjustment to make this play successful again, as successful as possible. And then you could also re-drag the B route. He's not doing a true drag, so I'll put him on I'll drag him again, and like I said, you can see right here, I mean, he's just, all the coverage is pulled either high or low, making this mid route a much better route. And if the user commits to that, that's the type of route where if the user commits to that, it's obviously going to leave Ginn open in the middle of the field. So it's just, you know, it's pretty much those two routes are the reads. Right here, like I said, I don't have to wait for him to cross all the way. You know what I'm saying? Like there, I could tell that the opening was in the middle of the field, not necessarily late. But that's pretty much the route. So this here probably is a man blitz. Gonna go ahead and block my. I'm continuously blocking my running back. I don't know if I mentioned that. But the best man beating route here is probably the X route. Like, typically the drags and the crossing routes used to be it, but the X route's probably the best man route now. So if you have this, like I said, re-drag the B route because it's just not a true drag. It's a little bit of a slower version. He'll help to pull coverage down as well. And like I said, you can see how the coverage pulled down there last minute based off of the drag. It has to respect that drag. So you can see right here, it's just not a true drag. Like I said, it's not 100% necessary, but it's just not a true drag. So if you leave them like this, it'll still do the job. I just find it's not, you know, I'd rather a true drag. So like I said, once again, man coverage, hitting the X route, that's your best man option. The streaking tight end too, I mean, it's to clear back zones. It's kind of a clear out route as I mess up the play. It's kind of a clear out route, but it also has that effect against users. A lot of times users will be watching that route. They'll chase that back. And then that'll help to get the Y route open also. But you can see how just streaking him really makes this play, you know, just makes it more successful again. So that's it. That's the vid. If you guys want to see more Saints, do me a favor, hit the like button, and I'll do that next. Other than that, thanks for watching. Man, shit out. Need more help or just want to show your support? Then head over to my Patreon and join my team, where you can get exclusive content like ebooks and bonus plays, as well as early access to my vids and more. Link in the description below.